Hey everybody, it's John Clark, and in this video, I'm talking about marketing a private practice the right way. Let's dive in. Okay, so step number one is to get clear on your value. This is probably not what you thought I would be saying right off the bat here, but it's an essential part of everything that is going to follow. It's an essential part of creating a solid foundation for marketing your private practice. Until you get clear on your value, in other words, what you and your services and skills are worth, then none of this is going to mean anything. None of this is going to create a profitable, healthy, and sustaining private practice. So the reality is a lot of us really undervalue our services and offerings as mental health professionals and as helping professionals. Now, I could go into why I think this is, but I think what's more important is just to acknowledge that yes, things tend to be this way. We tend to undervalue ourselves, and therefore I think we need to charge more than we are generally comfortable with. At the very minimum, you need to get clear on what your fees are. You need to get clear in how to communicate those fees during that initial client phone conversation. And until you've gotten really clear and confident on those things, don't move forward in marketing your private practice. And then from there, do any work you need to do on working on your mindset through this stuff. You need to have the right mindset to be successful as a business owner, and especially as a therapist getting started in private practice or at any stage of private practice. So do whatever work you need to do around this. Number two, and related to knowing your value, it's deal with your fear of spending money. Again, I think as therapists, we've got all sorts of money issues, and I think they're wrapped up in all sorts of things that I don't need to talk about in this video, but it's cliche, but it's true that you do need to spend money to make money. And a lot of therapists have problems not only charging what they're worth, making and managing money, but spending money. And especially during the beginning stages of building and growing a practice, you need to be okay and get over your fear of spending money. The reality is a private practice is one of the cheapest businesses that you can start. A lot of folks who are opening a small restaurant, for example, are taking out business loans of $50, $60, $100,000 and then some, and taking on a whole lot of risk in the process. Our practice doesn't have to be an expensive thing, but it is going to cost money, and you do need to get over your fear of spending money on your practice. I think one reason why a lot of therapists have this fear is because they're afraid the money is just not going to come back to them, or they don't see it come back to them immediately, so they conclude too soon, this thing didn't work, or this thing didn't help my business, when in fact, they just needed to give it more time. Number three, your brand matters. There's a lot of therapists out there with really crappy brands, therapists that don't know anything about marketing. They don't know the first thing about marketing or branding. And when you don't have a solid and compelling brand that stands out, nothing you do on top of that is going to go anywhere. You'll just be grabbing attention and doing nothing with it. So your brand matters. You have to make it count. So that includes everything from I break it down into basically three categories. It's what you say, it's what you do, and it's how you look, right? So it's what you say, meaning how you describe your practice, both verbally and through your copy or what you say in your website. It's what you do. So it's how you actually provide those services, how you approach people within your business, the experience you give your clients from the moment they land on your website to the moment they finish their last session with you after 5 years of therapy. And then finally, it's how you look, or in other words, what is the aesthetic of your brand? What does it look, and what does that say about you and your practice? All these things and so much more go into building a solid brand. But the reality is you just need to remember, if nothing else, your brand matters. So give it the time and attention that it deserves. Number four, don't just do what other therapists are doing. There's an overwhelming amount of therapists out there doing all sorts of stuff that just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. But when one therapist starts doing it, the rest start doing it for whatever reason. So just randomly passing out business cards or posting flyers in coffee shops or banging on the doors of doctors' offices. Just because other people are doing something to market their practice does not mean that you should do it. And in fact, you should probably steer clear of a lot of those things. The reality is the therapists who are in fact fully booked and doing it with ease are not really talking about it that much. They're not on free Facebook groups out there just talking about all the things that they're doing because they're busy running their fully booked practice. So that can be you, but you just have to resist the temptation to do a bunch of the stuff that other therapists are doing with very little results, and also not knowing why they're doing it. Number 5, and here's where we're going to get to where the rubber meets the road. When it comes to marketing, and really I'm focused on digital marketing, you need to spend all of your focus and attention on getting in front of people who are looking for a therapist right this moment. So that doesn't mean places like Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest, right? Or posting a flyer in a coffee shop. It means thinking through, using some common sense to realize, if I were to open my computer right now to find a new therapist, where am I going to go? When I open that web browser, where am I most likely to go? And when you can think through that question and answer it for yourself, it becomes really clear where you should be focusing. Once you have that focus, you need to have an intensity about that focus. You need to block out the noise, and you need to do everything you can to show up in front of those people over and over and over again with consistency. That is the way to building a fully booked practice. Number 6, stick with what you're doing for 30 days or more. Too many therapists don't understand this idea of statistical significance. So in other words, what happens is therapists will try something and they'll try it for 3 days and then they'll conclude that it doesn't work, right? Especially when it comes to digital marketing stuff. The other reality is too many therapists, they change all sorts of variables. They change more than one variable at once. And we know that if we're going to approach our business and our marketing like a good curious experimenter, which we need to, then you can't go changing a bunch of variables at once. You need to change one variable at a time so that when you do get results, you can confidently attribute those results to that variable that you changed. So again, don't go in and start just tinkering with tons of stuff on your website just because you're anxious or you're overwhelmed or you listen to another podcast, so you go in and implement all those changes. When you do that and when you tinker too much with your marketing, you're never going to know what's really working. So stick to what you have for 30 days or more before you conclude that you've identified the variable, you're ready to change it, and then commit to another 30 days of gathering information, gathering data, and then looking at that data as objectively as possible. Number 7, very commonly overlooked as well. Once you do have a system in place for getting new clients consistently, so you're fully booked and still getting new client leads whenever you need them, you need to keep in touch with all of these people. So the reality is when people come into our therapy practice, they fall out of it very quickly and easily. They go on vacation, there's a holiday, they just forget to schedule one week, and then they just completely fall off. So all that hard work that you did to acquire those new clients is just going completely to waste because you don't have a simple, unified way to keep in touch with all of them. If you're providing value to your clients, then they will want to hear from you. And yes, I'm talking about email marketing. So you need to get started right away. If you haven't already, you need a simple, unified way to keep in touch with all of your hard-earned client leads. All right, so those are my 7 tips on marketing a private practice the right way. If you enjoyed this video, click that subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing in the comments below. And if I can help you build a fully booked private practice, just go to thejohnclark.com. That's thejohnclark.com. And I look forward to talking to you very soon.